First, I would like to thank you for watching this analysis of director Federico Fellini's 1957 Italian drama Nights of Cabiria. If you like this video, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel and playlist Cinema Geeks. I would also appreciate it if you would click on the link in the description and leave 50 cents or $1 to help me produce more videos like this one that you are about to see. Maria Ceccarelli has always survived on her own, ever since her parents died and she came to Rome. She lives in a poor village called Via Sicilia in a small rundown home that she paid for by going out at night and meeting strange men for money under her street name Cabiria. She is a prostitute. Cabiria wants to change her life, and she wants to change it right away and without any work. She loves a boy named Giorgio, but after buying him lots of clothes, he leads her to the Tiber River, pushes her into it, and runs off with her purse. If not man, then what about the Madonna? Cabiria attends a mass where she burns a candle and offers a prayer for a better life. In return, however, all Cabiria gets for her candle and prayer, as she had gotten from buying Giorgio clothing, is reality and the truth. If not the Madonna, then what about a magician? She attends a magic show and a magician hypnotizes her into revealing her secrets. She wants to fall in love and get married. Unlike Giorgio and the Madonna, the magician gives her everything that she wants immediately, without any pain and without any work. Oscar appears out of nowhere, and he is the man of her dreams. He wants to marry her. He has a good job and makes a lot of money. He listens to her. He reads books. He buys her candy and flowers. He's highly educated. She gives up everything to be with Oscar, even her home that she worked very hard to pay for. He seems too good to be true. In fact, he is. Nights of Cabiria is directed by Federico Fellini, who co-wrote its script with Ennio Flaiano, Tullio Pinelli, and Pier Paolo Pasolini, based on an original story by Fellini. The film is produced by Dino De Laurentiis. Its music is by Nino Rota. Its cinematography is by Aldo Tanti and Otello Martelli. It is edited by Leo Catozzo. It is distributed by Paramount Pictures, Le Film Marceau, and Lopet Pictures. The film stars Giulietta Masina as Cabiria Ceccarelli, Francois Perrier as Oscar D'Onofrio, Amadeo Lazzari as Alberto Lazzari, Franca Marzi as Wanda, Dorian Gray as Jesse, Franco Fabrizi as Giorgio, Aldo Silvani as the Wizard, and Ennio Girolami Amleto as the Pimp. In 1958, Nights of Cabiria received an Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film. Giulietta Masina also received a Best Actress Award for the film at the Cannes Film Festival in 1957. In this video, I will analyze the following themes from this film. So, let's begin. Nights of Cabiria begins in Rome with a prostitute named Cabiria and her boyfriend frolicking on an Italian countryside. Happy and free, Giorgio leads Cabiria to the river, pushes her in, and runs away with her purse. Some bystanders fish her out of the river, and she walks home with one shoe on and burns all of the clothes that she had bought for Giorgio. Back on the stroll at the Passeggiata Archeologica, other prostitutes make fun of Cabiria after finding out about how Giorgio had tricked her. Cabiria asks a local pimp to drive her to an upscale stroll called the Via Veneto, and here she meets a famous actor named Alberto Lazzari, who randomly orders her to get into his car and takes her to a nightclub called the Piccadilly. When some eager fans pester him to join them at their table, he tells them that he cannot leave Cabiria, referring to her as his lady. Later, he takes Cabiria to his place, but when his girlfriend friend shows up unexpectedly, Alberto drops the act of pretending to be Cabiria's man and hides her in the bathroom, where she eventually falls asleep on the floor with his dog while he and Jessie, his real woman, make love. And later, when Jessie falls asleep, he sneaks Cabiria out of the bathroom to the front door and gives her some money. $45,000 for Marilyn Monroe's chest x-ray. $8,000 for a pair of Elvis Presley's underwear. $523 for a jar of Brad Pitt's and Angelina Jolie's breath. $1,600 for 12 strands of hair that burned off Michael Jackson's head in 1984 while he was filming a Pepsi commercial. $25,000 for William Shatner's kidney stone. $5,300 for Scarlett Johansson's used Kleenex. Idolatry takes on many forms in Nights of Cabiria. Let's take Cabiria herself, for instance, and how she goes out of her way to get other prostitutes at Via Veneto to see her with the movie star in his flashy convertible, and also how she is blown away by the fact that Alberto tells his fans at the nightclub that she is his lady. However, when Alberto becomes tired of playing up to his fans' expectations, he goes home to be himself. The band played Latin music for him at the club. He, however, listens to classical music at home. This is the real Alberto that the public does not see, and he exposes this side of himself to Cabiria. However, as I pointed out earlier, she can only see Alberto as the big movie star and starts crying due to the fact that, like God or a UFO, none of her friends will believe that she was actually with him without some kind of physical proof. To this end, Alberto promises to give her an autographed picture. Now, let's compare the way that Alberto is revered by Cabiria and his fans with the irreverence of his girlfriend Jessie, who, seeing him not as a movie star but as a regular person, not only slaps him in the face but even walks away from him at the beginning of the scene. Cabiria climbs out of a truck which drives away and leaves her in an empty field. Here, she sees a good Samaritan with a large bag dropping food and blankets into holes that turn out to be the underground caves of homeless people. The Samaritan offers Cabiria a ride back to Rome and explains to her that he has to deliver food and blankets during the day because it's easier to find the people who need them. Although Cabiria works at night, she is fortunate to have a house of her own. In the subsequent scene, Cabiria attends the Sunday Mass. Cabiria sees true love for the first time when she sees the Samaritan donating blankets and food to the homeless. 1 Samuel 16 and verse 7. For the Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. Again, remember that Cabiria's outlook on love reflects her outlook as a prostitute, in which nothing is given without the expectation of a return. For instance, there is an earlier scene in the film in which she says that she is not sure about attending the Mass because her house note is almost paid off. And when she does attend the Mass, she burns a candle for the Madonna, but does so in exchange for a better life, as she expected love from Giorgio in exchange for the clothes that she bought for him. And as Giorgio disappoints Cabiria by not loving her in return for the clothing she bought for him and running off with her purse, the Madonna also disappoints Cabiria by not blessing her in return for neither her prayer nor her candle. Now, let's look at Alberto, who, as those who worship the Madonna's image, is also worshipped by his fans in the nightclub who pester him to sit at their table, by the band that plays his favorite song, and by Cabiria, who goes out of her way to get other prostitutes to see her with Alberto in his car, and also gets him to give her an autographed picture in order to prove to her friends that she had actually seen him in person. But just as easily as Cabiria can see Alberto's famed car and fancy home, she is blind to the fact that Alberto is an actor like herself and that he is not the characters he portrays in the movies. Also, Cabiria is blind to the fact that though Alberto treats her well by taking her out to the club and back to his place for caviar and champagne, he does not really think of her as his lady. She just happened to be in the right place at the right time. In fact, he thinks no more of her than he does his dog that she lies with on the floor of his bathroom. Most importantly, Cabiria is blind to how blessed she is to have a home, even after seeing the people living in the caves underneath the ground. We have all heard the saying, there's a sucker born every minute. Well, in this film, Cabiria is that sucker looking for love and a shortcut to a better life. For instance, she attends a mass and burns a candle for the Madonna to change her life. As soon as the mass is over, the people who were just moments before burning candles and praying to statues, crucifixes, and other religious icons return to their heathen ways, converting the sacred grounds of the church into a picnic. Therefore, seeing no instant change in others as well as her own life, Cabiria turns her back on religion by leaving the church and going off to see a magician who hypnotizes her and tells her that she will fall in love with a rich man named Oscar who will ask her to marry him. And presto, immediately after the magic show, a man by the name of Oscar walks up to Cabiria and sweeps her off of her feet. Trying to lose weight? What if I told you how you could lose 5 to 11 pounds with the snap of a finger, without going on a diet and without any kind of exercise? Or what if I told you that I could transform your body from a watermelon to a Coca-Cola bottle, also with the snap of a finger? According to Business Insider, a company out of California called Skinny Mirrors produce concave mirrors that can make you look taller and slimmer. Belinda Jasmine, the company's founder, initially designed the mirror for the home market. However, her company gets a lot of its business from retailers, especially after a study suggesting that customers using skinny mirrors feel better about their bodies than customers using regular mirrors. Also, 86% of those using skinny mirrors made a purchase as opposed to 73% of those who used a regular mirror, even though the company's skinny mirror logo is visibly displayed on each mirror. The bottom line with this mirror is that there are times in life that we prefer to believe things that we know are not true, which brings us back to Cabiria's, beginning with her telling Wanda that she fell in the river when in fact it was Giorgio who pushed her in the river and ran off with her purse. Then to Cabiria wanting to believe that the time she spent with Alberto was genuine until he paid her and sent her away after making up with his real woman Jessie. And then to Cabiria going to mass and asking the Madonna to give her a better life instead of taking action to make her own life better through the same hard work she applied to buying her own house. Cabiria's refusal to accept the hard truth concerning Giorgio and the Madonna and her vulnerability to those who support the way that she feels is known as confirmation bias, which is, according to psychologist Peter Cathcart-Watson, the tendency to favor information that validates a preconception, hypothesis, or personal belief regardless of whether the information is true or not. This leads us to my next point, which is in John 14 verse 6, Jesus calls himself the truth. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Also in 2 Timothy verses 3 through 4, he warns that people will seek out teachers who will tell them what their itching ears want to hear, and that people will turn their ears away from the truth and turn aside to myths. Now, if the word truth in John 14 and verse 6 is compared with Jesus, and the word myth in 2 Timothy verses 3 through 4 is contrasted with the truth, this can only mean that as the word truth is analogous to Christ, the word myth is analogous to the Antichrist. In the context of this film, Cabiria's unwillingness to accept the truth as to why Giorgio pushes her into the river, why Alberto takes her out to a bar and to his place, and why the Madonna does not answer her prayer. Each of these instances of denial makes her vulnerable to the Antichrist, who in this film is none other than the magician. For Cabiria, like the rest of the audience at the magic show, wants to believe in something that she knows is not real. When the magician hypnotizes her, she repeats the mistake that she made with Giorgio in letting the devil and the audience know her secrets. And afterwards, the devil tells her everything that her itching ears want to hear. Have you ever looked at a cloud and saw a cat? Or looked at a tree trunk and saw a dead relative? Or saw the face of Jesus in a wrinkled sheet? Or picked a winning scratch-off ticket because your eye was jumping? Or saw a black cat walking to your right and got the dream job you always wanted? In life, we often see things the way that we want to see them and not as they really are. Now remember that throughout the film, Cabiria sees the world according to how she feels. As she does when she tells Wanda that she fell in the river when in fact it was Giorgio who pushed her in the river. And as she does in thinking there was something between herself and Alberto because he took her to a club and treated her to food and champagne at his place. Therefore, it should come as no surprise that when the magician tells her that she will meet the man of her dreams, Cabiria's desires are confirmed. Whereas her prayer to the Madonna went unanswered, the magician gives her exactly what she wants when she meets Oscar, the man of her dreams, right after the show. In this scene, we see Cabiria once again trying to turn stones into bread by falling for a man who hears her confession when the magician hypnotizes her. And although the audience at the magic show want to believe that magic is real too, the difference between the audience and Cabiria is that they see the horns on the magician's head when he removes his hat. He is the devil. And as she wants to believe that her dream has finally come true in this scene, Cabiria also wanted to believe that Giorgio loved her and that Alberto and the magical evening they spent together was real, but it wasn't. But now let's go back to the fact that at first Cabiria did not know if she even wanted to go to the mass because her house was almost paid off. The only reason that she changes her mind about going to the mass is due to the fact that she wants something from the Madonna, and that is for the Madonna to change her life. Yes, she and others at the mass offer prayers and candles, but it's like the devil telling Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. The problem is the question why. As the problem with Cabiria and others at the mass is not their candles nor their prayers, but with the intentions behind their candles and prayers, which are offered out of selfishness and not out of true love. And likewise, when Oscar comes out of the crowd to tell Cabiria that he was touched by her testimony, she does not question his intentions, as she did not question Alberto's intentions as to why he would pick her up off the streets, take her out to a club, and back to his place after he and Jesse split up. In the case of the magician, Oscar and Alberto, Cabiria wants to believe that something that she can obviously see as a fantasy will somehow turn out to be real. After meeting at the magic show, Cabiria and Oscar start dating, and he rolls out the red carpet, spoils her with candy, flowers, and other gifts. He listens to her, loves to read, attended college, and works as an accountant. He asks her to marry him, and she says yes, selling everything she has, including her home. Everything seems to be turning out exactly as the magician told her it would. However, just as it took Giorgio pushing her into the river and stealing her purse, and as it took Alberto letting her sleep on his bathroom floor with his dog, and then going on to remind her that the time they spent together was not real by paying her for it, it takes something just as blunt to wake Cabiria up from the illusion that Oscar, the man of her dreams, has materialized out of nowhere like magic to change her life. Cabiria is looking for someone to believe in, beginning with Giorgio, who pushes her into the river and steals her purse, and then Alberto, who allows her to sleep on his bathroom floor with his dog, and then putting her out of his apartment in the middle of the night. And then there is the Mass, in which she sees people praying and burning candles one minute, and the next minute the same people having a party on the church grounds. And then there is the magician, who tells her that she will meet the man of her dreams. And then there is Oscar, whom she meets immediately after the magic show. And finally, there is Giovanni the monk, who, like the magician, confirms her desires by telling her that she should get married, which she interprets him to mean that she should marry Oscar. Through each of these men, Cabiria receives a lesson. The lesson she should have learned with Giorgio is that you cannot buy love. The lessons she should have learned with Alberto are that just because someone buys you candy and gifts does not mean that that person loves you. The other lesson she should have learned with Alberto was to respect the obvious. He is an actor, and it is his job to pretend being people he is not. The lessons Cabiria should have learned with the magician are that you can't judge a book by its cover, as the magician is really the devil. Another lesson she should have learned from the magician is to not trust her emotions, which kept her from being objective and seeing the horns on his head. Horns that would have given her the proper context in which to see Oscar, and the possibility that he may, like the magician, Giorgio, and Alberto, be pretending to be something that he is not. Having sat in the audience at the magic show and having heard Cabiria's confessions, Oscar transforms himself into her idea of the perfect man, in that he loves her, he is well educated, and he makes a lot of money as an accountant. However, as she attended the Mass, prayed, and burned the candle, not out of the sincerity of her heart, but in order to get the Madonna to give her something, Cabiria does not question what Oscar may want from her. And despite the pain that her heart causes her in the past, by allowing Giorgio to deceive her and steal her purse, and in allowing herself to be hurt by the fact that Alberto only saw her as a distraction after falling out with his real woman Jessie, Cabiria once more follows her heart into another painful lesson. When she asks Oscar how can she be sure that he is not fooling her, and he tells her in a soft, romantic voice that the only thing that matters is how they both feel on the inside. The film ends the way in which it began, with Cabiria being led by hand and heart to the river. But this time it is Oscar who takes her to a high cliff above the river. When he asks her if she can swim, she gets deja vu. This is exactly how Giorgio pushed her into the river earlier. Cabiria surrenders her purse to Oscar without a struggle, and he abandons her. She cries herself to sleep, comes out of the forest the following morning, and sees a parade full of fools, laughing, dancing, and singing. The voice of a girl pierces the noise. "Hurry, or we'll lose our way home," she says, and Cabiria cannot help but smile through bitter tears, for she has lost everything, including her home, like a fool. But now, at least, she can finally see. It was Giulietta Masina's performance in Fellini's 1952 comedy The White Sheik that inspired Fellini with the idea to make Nights of Cabiria, a film that owes its gritty look to a style born out of a post-World War II film movement called Italian Neorealism, a style characterized by stories involving the underclass, the poor, the working class, filmed on location with mostly non-professional actors. To add to the film's authenticity, Fellini modeled the prostitutes in the Nights of Cabiria off of real prostitutes he met while shooting his 1955 film Il Bidouin. Adding further to the film's authenticity was the inclusion of the underground caves in Paris, France, known as Les Catacombes. Originated in the 13th century, the catacombs were created by limestone that was quarried and used in the construction of landmarks such as the Notre Dame Cathedral, the Louvre, and the St. Eustache Church. The underground caverns served as an ossuary for the bones of over 6 million people due to the city's overcrowded cemeteries, crypts, and tombs, which is ironic in that in the film, the caves are occupied by the homeless or those whom society regards as throwaway people. Each scene in this film shines with Masina's performance as Cabiria, a role tailor-made for her as Dr. Strangelove was for Peter Sellers. La Strada and Nights of Cabiria were inspired by Masina's humanity, according to Fellini, who was also married to the actress. Cabiria is sad, feisty, defiant, funny, and proud. Her honest performance is like a mirror in which we see ourselves. And in this film, as she does in La Strada, Masina acts as a medium for Fellini's dreams, which defy all logical attempts to comprehend through thinking alone. His films can only be apprehended by way of the soul. There is something in Masina's performance that transcends acting, something that makes you feel as though you are witnessing magic. Nights of Cabiria earned many positive reviews. Janet Maslin of the New York Times described the film as a masterpiece, and director Francois Truffaut considered the film to be Fellini's best at that time. Personally, I believe that the grittiness of the film's subject matter, the juxtapositions of the film's depictions of extreme poverty and wealth, along with its sociological themes such as class, makes Cabiria Fellini's most accessible film, unlike his subsequent films that delved into fantasy and the supernatural, such as 8 1/2, La Dolce Vita, and Juliet of the Spirits. On top of his many awards, most of Fellini's films are ranked among the best ever in every major film poll. La Strada, which came out in 1954, was the first recipient of the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film in 1957. Fellini was more than a filmmaker. He was an artist for whom celluloid was a canvas. Camera, music, sets, and actors were the brushes, and life, its many vivid colors, tones, and textures, was the paint. They don't make directors like him or films like Nights of Cabiria anymore. Thanks for watching this video analysis and essay of director Federico Fellini's 1957 film, Nights of Cabiria, starring Giulietta Masina. If you like this video, I would appreciate it if you would give it a like, if you would leave a comment, but most of all, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel and this playlist for more quality video essays and reviews such as this one. Thank you, and I will see you next time.